Once I have my tracks looking the way that I want them to look, the next thing I'm going to want to do is probably remove the blank space. So a lot of times this blank space is going to have like leakage, it'll have like just air conditioning, people fidgeting, whatever was recorded with the track. So I might want to just clean this up. So I have to think about selecting things again. Remember, there's a couple ways to select things. I can use my selector tool, and with that, I can usually just click and drag, and I could drag it across multiple tracks if I want to. If I'm in slip mode, I can just hit delete, and then I can clean those up if I want. So I can select using my selector tool. I can also combine this with a navigation thing that we learned earlier in the term. So if I wanted to get to the end of a clip, let's say, what I can do is just hit the tab key. It takes me to the end of a clip. That's its normal behavior. And if I want to go to the beginning of a clip, I would do the opposite of that. So I can use the Option modifier on a Mac or the Alt modifier on a PC, and that will reverse things. So I can hold down Option and hit Tab, takes me to the beginning. Now, another thing that I can do with Tab is something called Tab to Transients. It's this little button here. If I click Tab to Transients, and now if I hit Tab, it takes me precisely to this first drum hit on my kick, trigger, track. You could click and drag across, let's say, all my drum tracks. I want these to be edited together. I can hold down the Shift key as well. If I hold down Shift and then hit Tab, then it's going to extend my selection to that next drum hit, that next transient. If I want to go to the beginning of my session, I would hit the Return key or the Enter key, so the one that's on the main keyboard. And if I hold down Shift with that, it will extend my selection to the beginning of my session. And then I can more precisely eliminate the noise at the beginning of the session. If I wanted to select an entire clip, an entire audio file, and I am in my selector tool, I would double click with that because its natural function is to just take part of a clip. But if I want to take a full clip, I would double click it. If I'm in my grabber tool, of course, that allows me to take and move an entire clip if I want, and then I could just hit delete. This area down here is called my edit window, and when I select like that with either of those two tools, it's called an edit selection. This area up at the top in the rulers is called the timeline. And so if I move these timeline in and out points, timeline selection in and out point, these little arrows that will be blue when you are playing back and red when you're recording, not really my favorite method of selecting things, but it works. I prefer editing where I can actually see the waveform. I find that more useful personally. But these are the timeline selection in and out points. You can combine these two. If I select in the edit window, I do an edit window selection. It also creates one here in the timeline. Do that by selecting link timeline and edit selection right underneath the zoom tool. Another kind of interesting function is linking track and edit selection. This is a pretty interesting tool. So if I change where my cursor is, say I move my cursor down to the track below, it will also change the track that is highlighted.